U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday was interviewed by NBC's Kristen Welker. And at one point in the interview, Trump exclaimed that he doesn't know if he needs to uphold the Constitution when it comes to deporting people that he doesn't want in this country. In comments that very, very much so shockingly violate the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, which clearly stipulates that every person, not American citizen, every person in this country is entitled to due process. And we have a Trump sycophant here trying to carry water for him on CNN, making this argument that, well, maybe illegal aliens are actually not entitled to the same type of due process that citizens are entitled to. So maybe Trump is right because their due process is slightly different than a citizen. But Abby Phillips points out, no, that's not true whatsoever. So let's go ahead and look at this clip here from CNN's Abby Phillips laying down the truth on this Trump sycophant. But before we do, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So we'll head on over here to Mediaite, where it says CNN anchor bristles when Trump fan accuses media of hoax on Trump's bombshell uphold the Constitution answer. Let's listen to this.
Yeah, I wonder why it's so difficult to understand a pretty simple concept. If Trump wants to deport illegal immigrants, he can do that, but he ought to do it legally. Do you think that that is a fair thing to say at this moment?
I do. I do think the media is pulling another, dictator for a day hoax right now, because it's clear when Trump said, I don't know, what he meant was what he finished his sentence saying, which is, I don't know where the Supreme Court is going to come down on whether deporting these illegal migrants is constitutional or not. It's very obvious,
okay,
yet every single headline...
You just called it a hoax, so let's just play. Can we play it again in the control room, what Trump said in response to Kristen Welker? We're getting it up right now.
Can I make another
Don't you need
clip?
to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
What's wrong with that?
So the Supreme Court is going to decide what is constitutional and what is not. And Trump just committed 100% to following what the Supreme Court says. I want to make one more very quick point.
There's another clip. Do we have the other one where he talks about whether citizens deserve due process? If we do, let's play that one.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials.
So can I respond to that?
Yeah.
So what does it mean for an illegal immigrant to have due process? We would all agree that they do not have the same level of due process that we do. For example, we are entitled to a jury trial, and they are entitled to a hearing before an immigration judge. Do you know who the immigration judges work for? They work for the executive branch. They work for which means that they work for Donald Trump.
You're actually making a great
of the due process that they get.
But Donald Trump doesn't even want to give him even that due process.
I
think that's part of the problem.
He is not sure the level to which they are entitled.
She didn't ask about what level of due process.
That's a very basic statement.
No, I mean, the reason I'm jumping in here is because she did not ask him should they have a jury trial? Should they not have a jury trial? She just said whatever process they are entitled to. If they're immigrants and they're in an immigration proceeding, then yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a different type of proceeding. It's actually more of an administrative proceeding.
It's a much lower standard as well.
Even still, they are trying to circumvent that minimal amount of due process.
Then why does
and
it
the
take so
question
long?
is,
Right. the question is why, is what she was about to say there. Why is Donald Trump's administration seeking to circumvent even any amount of due process whatsoever for cases like Kilmar Abrego Garcia and others, including these Venezuelan deportees who have not received any sort of due process whatsoever? So it's like these people, you know, you get them nailed down, you get them in a something that they can't get themselves out of, and the goalposts, they go from here, they go whoop, these goalposts just are moving in real time with these people, right? That it's not an issue of, oh, we want illegal immigrants to have exactly the same due process, right? Trial by jury that U.S. citizens are entitled to. That's not the argument. That's not what anyone is saying when they are very, very upset with Donald Trump completely circumventing any due process whatsoever for vast arrays of people in this country who are being deported with no due process, right? The question is, why are we getting rid of any due process whatsoever for these people? Not that it needs to be exactly the same. Abby Phillips here absolutely nails it, saying that, yeah, that's not the point. And Trump here, you know, he says, what are we going to do? We're going to have 2-3 million trials for, well, yeah, that's what the Constitution says, that every single person is entitled to due process. And no matter how long it takes and how much of a pain in the butt it is, yes, each and every person is entitled to due process, which it says again in the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution that Donald Trump made an oath and swore to protect when he was sworn into office. The president of the United States, first and foremost, their first loyalty should be to the Constitution, no matter what. Not party, not their family, not anything else, but the United States Constitution, which clearly says every person is entitled to due process. Whether or not that due process is exactly the same, that's not the argument. So I don't see how this is something that's benefiting Donald Trump's administration. I don't see how there's anyone out there that is a Hispanic person or any person of color whatsoever that voted for Donald Trump's administration that is now excited by what's happening with people being deported without due process. It's completely anti-American. It's completely against what our country stands for and has stood for 250 years. And quite honestly, this is an impeachable offense that Donald Trump is committing here, that if the Democrats are to gain control of the House of Representatives in 2026, you could only hope that Donald Trump will be impeached for his lack of following the Constitution. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and take care.